is the spectator or the subject. And I believe that the experience of the subject is very, very close and approximate. This is, Kantian or whatever. It's approximately close to the idea of the artist. That is, that every subject, when he or she looks at a work, remakes it as if they were the artist. Therefore, whatever I don't mean to sort of, sound like that, any interpretation is okay, but whatever you think is what's there, So if I have an idea about, a Chardin painting, which I try not to, and you don't have that idea when you see it, well, that is totally cool. Because it shouldn't.
Thanks a lot, Mark.
What?
Thanks a lot.
What?
It's totally cool if we don't get the reference. But I think the point about that is that you do realize that in some strange way you do realize there is a reference. So I was teasing, but I think when you see that spinning top, you realize that there is something there, and there is a reference, and I do think there's a level of emotion in this ruined building, and so on. But I also think, if I could just come in very quickly, because then I'm going to kind of bring it somewhat to an end. I think it's interesting, there's a difference between Mark's works which have an actual punctuation point ending, in that most of the ones that we've seen today have. And I think there is something extraordinarily emotional and moving when one sees that little skating rink. That's what we're going to see at the end. When one sees that little skating rink appear like a postage stamp at the top of a letter, and you realise that you're looking at a huge landscape. And so I think there is that kind of punctuation point in the works that involve a beginning and an end. But then there are some other ones, I think all the ones, I suppose in Nathan Phillips Square, the skating could go on. There isn't a kind of stopping point.
It has to stop, it doesn't have to stop.
Yeah. So there are some works which imply a time that begins before and after, and it's just a slice of time rather than a patterned piece of time. And I think the emotion is rather different in each case. I think, Frank, do you think we should move towards the end? Now, I started off by talking about Mark's use of 35mm film, which for me was always very surprising in my days of making films in an experimental avant-garde, as we used to say, context, was always posited on 16mm on the small gauge. So these films that were made for a limited amount of time around one reel of film, 35, seem to signal, in a sense, the end of one kind of avant-garde experimental epoch and the beginning of another. And Mark's work also tended to be technologically hybrid in that the editing, so much as there was editing, but there was always, as it were, the finishing process was always done digitally. So there's this tension between the old world of celluloid and the new world of the digital, which is sometimes more obvious in some of the works than others. But I think it just should be mentioned now that there are two things that I want to end with. One, that digital cameras have improved quite a lot, and now certain films that you can see in cinemas are nowadays shot actually on digital cameras. But also, Mark, in this last little film that I think it would be nice to just end by showing, is shooting with his own digital camera, small-scale, handheld digital camera, which in a rather sentimental way I see as harking back a little bit to the world of 16mm and the informality of 16mm, rather than with these very large-scale crew, cinematographer constructed works that he's made in the past. Now, this is called A Cold Morning, and once again, it's a Canadian street scene, and I think we've no need to introduce it. We'll just show it. Shall we? Yeah.
Just turn the lights on.
And this is just a corroborate shot with your own small digital camera.
Yeah, and it was without actors and without rehearsal, and just
Shot in the street.
a scene I saw in the street. It was minus 22 degrees.